and we finally finished the hot side. We got the turbo mounted up, and it was not as easy as plug and play.
What's going on, everybody? Ratchet Wrench is back for another video. Today we're going to be working on the Mustang, and this is going to be almost like the third video of pretty much installing this On3 Turbo Kit. Right now we're going to be doing the hot side and strictly only the hot side, so that's going to be a whole process. If you guys are new here and you haven't seen our previous video, definitely check that out. I'll link it up above, but make sure to subscribe, comment, like, and have that notification bell on, because you're not going to want to miss the startup of this thing, and that should be coming within maybe the first few weeks of November, as long as everything goes smoothly. So make sure to have that bell on, you'll never miss a video. But without further ado, we're really just going to dive right into it, so let's just start doing it. Alright, so I really want to show you guys what we did in the previous video. We installed the UPR tubular K-member. That's all bolted up and tight. We did go ahead and put this on the power steering rack. We didn't bolt anything up yet, but we really have to do the A-arms, obviously the strut or the coilovers and stuff like that, but we'll do that later. This is just going to be the hot side. We just want to make sure we have as much clearance as possible to get those headers in. Speaking of the headers, so we ended up painting these with a high temp black. It's not the best, there's some primer still there, but this is where the chain sat, so it didn't get to cover that. But these do have a tendency to turn white. Unfortunately, On3 Performance doesn't coat them with any kind of high temp from like their facility, so that's kind of a downfall. So make sure you take some extra time, prep it, sand it down, and paint them with some high temp paint. So these are pretty much on our ghetto rigged heat right here. Pretty much this one's good to go. This should be pretty much dry for the other one. The other one is out there being painted, but yeah, I mean, let's start putting this header on. This is super exciting, so let's do it. Alright, so we got our passenger side header. We got under the car. We're pretty much going to bolt it up. We got some studs in there, and then we're going to reuse some of these little bolts here. They say for the passenger side you don't have to use anything but the stock ones, but on the driver's side they do supply some of the Allen key bolts, so we'll have to use those. But for this you can just reuse all the factory hardware. It's going to go in like this and sit like that, so the outlet will be towards the back. But let's just get right into it. So we got the driver's side header manifold, whatever you want to call it. Right here is just like a cluster. It is super tight. We had to take this bracket off, which gave this more play, which we're gonna have to somehow kind of mock it up somewhere. The pipe that's gonna connect to the, I guess it's like a down pipe in a way, is gonna have to flange here, and it is tight with the sway bar. You got these lines here. So it's really a tight fit, so just keep that in mind. Plus we're gonna get the O2 sensor in here. It's gonna be, this is how it's gonna sit like that once we get it all tightened up. So it is extremely tight. We have our fuel filter relocation kit, and we got that mounted up over here. Self-tapping screws into the block there. This will all be covered on the bumper, and it's where most people mount it. Some people do it there, and some people do it on the bell housing, but preferably we did it here. And those lines, we gotta trim up a little bit, but they're out of the way. So now we're just gonna pretty much tighten down the bolts on the manifold and try and get this set, and then we'll have to start routing the, I guess, the down pipe and see how this is gonna do. But it's gonna be a lot of finessing because there's a lot of moving parts that are in the way. So yeah, like even, oh my god, this is a nightmare.
Let's get into it. Alright guys, check this out.
I'm in pain.
Austin's in pain, dying over there. We got the frickin' driver's side header in.
That
and
just sucks.
Everything sucks. And then like Austin mentioned, this is just a cluster of wires and tubing and everything, but it does work very, very tight, as you can see.
We'll have to clean it up, but...
Yeah. As of now, this is what it kind of looks like. Rough take. Definitely take out your wheel liner and the plastic guard here. Makes your life a lot easier. And definitely finish up all the oil filter relocation stuff, including clamping everything down, or if you're going AN fittings, before you put the header on, because we had a little hiccup, but we got it done. Everything's tight.
My back is killing me. And now we're gonna take, bear with me. We're gonna take
Old man status.
this little flex pipe. This is gonna connect to the passenger manifold. We're gonna flange that with the V-band clamp, and then this would go to that little J pipe, or whatever you want to call that, that down pipe thing there. We're gonna hook this up. It's pretty easy. I don't know if you guys ever done a V-band clamp, but it's pretty self-explanatory. You just kind of put this on the one side, and then you'll put the other one on the other side and tighten it down, and bam. They're good style clamps rather than just like the regular exhaust clamps. So
Yes, sir.
let's get the sockets, get our everything we need, and we'll start grinding away. And then we're almost done with the hot side. I mean, after this and that, which is going to connect to the driver's side, we could mount the turbo and clock it, but we probably won't do that today.
6.5 hours later.
Alright guys, it is midnight. We're going to wrap up for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow to show you guys more of the exhaust installation, but basically for tonight we got passenger side, driver side, headers installed. We got the oil filter relocation kit all buttoned up, super tight like we showed you before, but we made it work. We put V-bands down here.
Probably see.
Yeah.
Get under.
Put V-bands just to kind of mock it up and see how everything's going to be run.
Yeah, one there.
One
Back
up,
there.
yeah, by the header, and then
And the
one.
other one right there. Look how tight that is. It's crazy.
Yeah, we're gonna have to bend some of those lines, like Austin was saying.
Just kind of maneuver them out of the way and zip time and get them out of the way. But
Yeah.
it's only temporary right now because we want to get some heat wrap just to, you know, wrap all that stuff.
Yeah, and the heat wrap's good just to like keep the heat inside the pipe itself for the turbo to operate as best as it can. We worked like pretty much all afternoon on this until the night, so
Yeah, we grind it.
yeah.
But pretty much what we have left to do is just, obviously we're going to take it all apart, put the heat wrap on it, but after that, put the turbo here,
Yep. Mock the turbo up.
clock it, and then of course we got to put, I guess this would be the down pipe,
Yeah, technically.
which would be the V-band clamp, and then we'll have to put the wideband sensor, which we got AEM,
Yeah.
and then this will start routing the exhaust.
I know a lot of people want us to bumper exit, but I'm not ready to cut a hole in my $400 or $500 bumper quite yet, so.
Plus, I think it's not as common to have it run to the back.
It's
with the
not.
cams, the boiler, I think it will sound really good.
A lot of people bumper exit it, but I think the boilers will have a nice tone to it, so.
But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for today.
Yeah.
Like Wes said, we got the oil relocation kit. I don't know if you can see it there. And it's all routed up under there. But that's pretty much going to do it for tonight. And we'll see you in the morning.
See you tomorrow. Alright guys, it's the next day. We're back working on the turbo 2 valve, and like we mentioned before, the night before, we got pretty much all the hot side buttoned up on the front end of the car from the headers forward. And we got the merge pipe, not the down pipe technically, but where the turbo is going to mount up right in front of the harmonic balancer. We got that all tightened up with all the V-bands, so that's good to go. We're going to attempt to do some heat wrap while all the piping's on the car. Hopefully we can manage to get our hands everywhere. It's going to be tight for sure, but we did order 100 feet of heat wrap. And then in here we got some warm soapy water. Now this is going to help kind of the heat wrap prevent from fraying, and is going to help kind of bond all that fiberglass within the heat wrap. So that's just what I read, a little tip if you guys are doing this. And without further ado, we're going to wrap those up and then mount the turbo. So let's do it. Alright guys, we wrapped up the passenger side, no pun intended. It looks pretty good. Made sure to keep it nice and tight. We're going to move over to the driver's side, and then Austin's going to work on the injectors, so I'll hand this up to him.
So now we're going to switch it up. This isn't really the hot side, but we are going to do the injectors. I'll set you guys up on a tripod and end up replacing all of them. We got our new ones here.
60 pounders.
And these, what's the specs on these ones?
60 pound FIC.
So I'm going to go ahead and set you guys up here. And I'm going to work on getting that while he does that. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And we'll get on to the next step.
Let's do it.
And making some progress.
Yes, sir.
Alright, so I just finished up on the driver's side. I didn't film that because it's pretty much the same procedure as the passenger side. Just be cautious. Fuel is going to come out unless you kind of bleed the system. Just got to be careful to clean it all up. Obviously, it's flammable, so keep that in mind. This side was definitely a little more difficult than the other side because you have this intake plenum here. I'm sure you could have removed that, but I wanted to bypass taking off the extra bolts. But those are all in now. The old ones completely gone. Wes is down here.
Pretty much done down here.
The lighting's not the best, but he's got the pretty much the driver's side all buttoned up with the heat wrap down there. And then the last thing we're gonna have to do is get the heat wrap on that pipe right there, which is gonna connect to the T4. I guess it's a T4 style turbo. And then it's pretty much gonna be mocking up the turbo, and then obviously the down pipe to the, I guess where it'd be the catless X pipe, or are they going to be running cats?
It's like a Y pipe, no cats.
So
back to the cat
straight back to the cat back. But yeah, we're gonna finish up here off cameras, and then we'll get to the next step. All right, so Wes finished up down there. We are gonna actually go ahead and install the wastegate. They gave us all the new hardware, the flanges, and the little dump tube. But while we do that, we are gonna drain the radiator and just try and get the coolant out of the system, because when we mock up the turbo, we're going to want this out of the way. And of course, in the end, in the long run, you could either do one of those crossover pipes, give you this, which will kind of sit like that, so it'll be higher, so the turbo will be, you know, able to be in there without having anything in the way. But yeah, so we're going to drain it, so by the time we're done mocking this up under the car and putting it all together, hopefully the coolant will come out, we'll let it breathe. Will come out the spigot on the bottom, but yeah, it should be, they say it's about 3.5 gallons of coolant. That's if everything, you know, gets out of all the crevices and everything like that. There's a full drain and refill. But we got a nice 5-gallon pail here. We got a nice 5-gallon pail here that we're I don't know why that comes off so weird. We got a nice 5-gallon bucket here. You could just leave all this shit in.
Oh, that's gonna be
I'm determined now. Yep. We got a nice 5-gallon bucket here, which is gonna contain, trying to get all that coolant into there. Hopefully it goes as smooth as planned, because we did get a coolant flush probably about 3,000 miles ago. So we are gonna try and reuse it. If not, we might switch over. We have some Mishimoto liquid chill. This is the 50/50. We probably have to order more because we only have 2. Comment down below if you have run this and if you suggest it, or you just prefer going OEM, because sometimes those OEMs with the specs and everything, it just makes more sense to do that because you don't want to corrode the insides and internals. Enough of me rambling. Let's start draining this and we'll start working on this bad boy. And we got a little hose, probably about maybe like 1/4 of an inch, to go over where the little peacock drain system is, just to try and control it, because coolant, once you release that that little valve, it tends to go everywhere. So we're gonna try for the best. We'll see. I think you give me a napkin, because before you napkin. It's gonna go. Yeah, there it goes. How am I getting wet? How is it not working? the hose is a bad idea. It didn't work as well as I wanted. Alright guys, so
look at that.
I know. As you can see, we're having some issues. Off camera we were trying to mount and like clock the turbo, but it is just hitting everything. It's very tight, so what we're doing here is we're gonna slide. We took the upper mounts for the radiator out, and then this wire, like this plastic piece just takes up so much space. So we're gonna end up protecting these wires and tuck them. How much more, like these will kind of tuck under here, because this is where it sat before right there. Now, like, look at that, that's so much room to play with, and the turbo,
yep.
It's very close to it, so we're trying to get this out of the way, because it's a lot of space. We'll have to drill up some new holes here for the radiator top support mounts, and yeah.
Basically every inch matters, you know?
Exactly, so we're gonna get to that, and then we'll start I guess putting the turbo on and hopefully continue going. Alright guys, it is yet another day and we finally finished the hot side. As you can see here, we got the turbo mounted up and it was not as easy as plug and play. We do have this loose because we will have to clock this to get the intercooler piping down below. But we got the filter on, we got all the feed lines and the return lines hooked up, we got the downpipe. And the only thing we haven't done, which we'll probably do off camera, is just hook up the kind of, I guess, mid-pipe section from the downpipe to the cap back, which we'll do off camera. We don't want to bore you with that. To make this work, it was hard. As you saw, we removed that plastic, almost like channel for the wire loom to fit, and that freed up a lot of space, so we ended up wrapping that and tucking it under here. And then we kind of bent the brackets for the radiator and the fan assembly and then tapped our own holes in, so that gave it much more clearance, so we pushed it in, so we gave that extra room, because without that, this little sensor right here would almost be impossible to fit. It is really tight right there. Probably gonna have to put some tape on that. We don't want to melt this wire or anything like that, but we are eventually gonna put a turbo blanket on that. So if you have any questions and you're doing this install, comment down below on how we did this exact setup, because we didn't want to try and film it and work on it. It just wasn't really working out, so we want to do a little update. But yeah, pretty much you have to kind of fab some things up, which is not the end of the world. It's not a direct plug and play. Now the one other thing that we are missing, which we haven't hooked up yet, is over here. We have some metal brackets, which we'll have to kind of manipulate and put on the housing here, and it kind of bolts up to behind the alternator, and that will kind of just give that extra little support. It's pretty damn sturdy as it is, so I don't think it really needs it, but it is a good precaution to have. But yeah, that's really gonna wrap up the hot side. We do have to put our wideband gauge in. We went with the AEM, so we'll put that there, and then of course all the O2 sensors down below. And then it'll be pretty much rounding up the cold side. Unfortunately, the couplers were back ordered, so that really set us back. We ended up ordering a different set, so that should be here this week, and we'll be able to get that cold side up along with the intercooler. And then probably the oil change, put it in, put the coolant in, and really start this thing up for the first time. We'll probably have to get a base map. As you can see, we do have the coolant overflow tank just missing. We're either gonna get an aluminum one. We really wanted one that On3 sold that bolted up to here, just to give it a cleaner look. but unfortunately they're out of stock. But yeah, this wraps up the hot side, and please comment down below if you have any questions. If you're having a hard time following this or whatnot, we're trying to answer. We both have our notifications on, so you guys should have your notifications on as well. Turn that bell on. But of course, whenever you guys comment, we get it right away and we'll answer it as soon as we can. You could follow us on Instagram. I'll link that down below and put on the screen right now. And it's just a better way to communicate with us and easier for us. Yeah, we hope you enjoyed. Give it a big thumbs up. Stay tuned for the build. Like I said, have that notification bell on because you're not going to want to miss the first startup, and that should be within the next couple videos. So enough of me talking. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.